Is Avi Abelow. I am the producer of the movie you're about to see, Home Game. Home Game was a project of love. I have no background in movie production, media. I was an organizational psychologist, worked as a management consultant in New York City before coming home to Israel with my wife and then opening up the office for an international consulting firm in Tel Aviv. Never imagined that I would produce a movie, but I'm also very passionate about the Jewish people and the land of Israel, and anyone here who knows my partner, Avi Abelow, and I run an organization called the 12 Tribe Films Foundation, and our main product, you can say, is the Pulse of Israel daily program, where I'm able to provide everybody with a belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect view about everything going on today. And hence that passion came out with being active for Israel, being very active politically when the Israeli government at the time in 2004 announced the Gaza disengagement. It was a very painful time for the Jewish people, a very divisive time. I actually left my job in Tel Aviv, leave of absence without pay, in order to sneak into the Gaza Strip and try to help stop the government from implementing the plan. My wife was 6 months pregnant with her third child at the time. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I was there on the inside trying to do whatever I could as an English speaker, and I helped work as a press liaison for the cause, for the families of Gush Katif of Gaza. And when they were removed from their homes and I returned back to my home and I wanted to do something, I ended up producing this movie. And it's this movie that then made me change my career path from the business world, management consulting, to full-time media for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. So thank you to each and every one of you for being here today on this Tisha B'Av, on this 9th of Av, the saddest day of the Jewish calendar. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody all over the world who are also watching from wherever you are. As just a point that needs to be said because of the reality we're living in, right before we start this movie, we're living in a reality where a major enemy of Israel, Iran, officially announced a week or two ago that they plan to attack us on this 9th of Av, this saddest day of the Jewish calendar, which happens to be pretty ironic because if you think about it, no other day in the Jewish calendar shows the connection between the Jewish people and Israel, Jerusalem, the temple, than the 9th of Av. And here you're talking about a narrative that comes out of our enemies, both the Sunnis and the Shias, with Iran at the top of the list, who are very clear about saying that the Jews have no connection with Israel. The temple never stood. And here they announced that they were going to be attacking us on the 9th of Av, basically showing the world that they understand, they know we're connected. That's not why they want to get rid of us. But with that understanding, you should know that if anything does happen, without having to go into details, we are in the safest room of this building. So everyone, stay seated, continue watching the movie, pray to God above, and please God, with everything we're experiencing today, the Jewish people are going to grow bigger and stronger despite what our enemies have planned for us. In the meantime, it's hard for me to say enjoy the movie. It's a hard movie to watch, but I hope it is a very meaningful experience for you. Thank you. This movie still makes me cry and get very emotional, even though I've seen it many times over the past 19 years. Usually when I speak after a screening, I interact with the crowd and ask questions and get questions and talk about some of the backstories. We have a different program today which we're going to start in a minute, but I just wanted to share with you 2 short backstories to that film. Does anyone remember the scene of the man who took the Israeli flag and stood on the top of the guardhouse as the soldiers were going to be coming into the community to evacuate them, and then he ends up throwing the flag into the fire? That man's name was Chezi Chazani. A few months after they were removed from their homes, Chezi and his wife were driving down to an army base. I don't know whether it was to visit a daughter or to bring a daughter to our army base. And on the way down, he had a heart attack and died just from the heart brokenness. And that's just one of the many stories of the people in Gush Katif who had to live with the results of a political decision, with the impact on their own lives. The second backstory I want to share with you is, do you remember the scene where you saw a female IDF soldier giving a hug to a local, to a guy, and then he pushes her away and starts screaming, "Look what you did to her"? Well, he was a local who lived in that community of Netzer Chazani. That was a best friend. They traveled around the world together. And he was in shock when all of a sudden it was his best friend or girlfriend who was sent to his community to expel him and his family and his community from their homes. And then there was another scene where you saw a woman talking to that same soldier, saying, Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day, is my favorite holiday, makes me most emotional. I'm not upset at you, I love you. That was that boy's mother. And that girl was sent to his actual house without even knowing it. Which just is one little microcosm of the bigger story, which was how brother was pit against brother in that fateful summer of 2005, against our own will because of a political decision. Before we bring on the special guest who I will be speaking to, first I just want to say thank you to Paul Gross and the Bacon Center for partnering with us for this very meaningful event. For all of you and for everyone watching all over the world today, I especially want to say thank you to my director, Yaron Shane, who took my vision of this movie and made it a reality to be screened all over the world and get the story of the people of Gush Katif and of what happened that summer all around the world. I want to thank my staff, Avi Abelow, my partner, Rachel Moore and her staff for helping in this event, my parents, my wife Rachel, all my grown kids, including 2 who have served in this war in Gaza, one who's in there at this moment. Thank all of you for watching and for being here, and I want to thank our guest. Nisan, are we good?
Yeah,
we're good? Wonderful. I want to thank Yedidya for joining us. Yedidya was supposed to be here in person, but something happened, which I don't know to get into, but he wasn't able to be here, but thankfully he was able to join us by Zoom. Yedidya grew up in the community of Atzmona in Gush Katif. He played in that basketball tournament. He was at that basketball tournament that was in the movie. He lives in the community of Shlomit, which is on the Egyptian border, and was involved together with his fellow rapid response team members of the community in jumping literally and fighting against the terrorists who infiltrated in from Gaza on October 7th to save the border communities there, especially the neighboring community of Pre-Gan. And he's also served in this war fighting in Gaza. So Yedidya is with us today as a youth from back then in the movie, and today as a young man and a father himself. So thank you, Yedidya, for being with us today. And I guess to start off with the first question, Yedidya, as an adult today, as a father of your own children, looking back, can you share with us some of your memories and thoughts about playing and being at that tournament, those fateful days, as your family were being removed from your homes and you were also fighting on the basketball court and fighting to stop from being removed from your homes, and then to actually go through what you went through back then, if you're able to share with us.
Shalom, thank you so much for having me. You can hear me fine, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's a good question. Watching the movie with you just now, it's actually a tradition that goes in my family since I got married. To watch on Tisha B'Av. That's probably the only day where I sit and actually mourn the loss of my home, my childhood, some of my dreams. I do it on Tisha B'Av. It's a sad day regardless. And I just sit and watch one of the movies that I watch is that movie every year, and thinking back and remembering everything I went through as a teenager at the time. And actually, not the best birthday gift I got in the year of 2005, losing my home. And during that summer, as it says very, very articulately in the movie, the tournament in Gush Katif was really everything for us. We had the beach, we had some work we did in the agriculture, in the greenhouses, but we had the tournament. We would, as kids, we would go cheer for our team and dreaming for the day we can actually be on the team ourselves. And obviously, the year of 2005, I was old enough to play on the youth team that was taking place in the tournament, the team of Glassman, one of the teams. And I was going into 7th grade, but I was very good to my grade, so I was already playing with the junior and seniors of that year. Usually, it's more the junior and senior that are playing the tournament. And it was crazy. It was during the days, and we would prepare for, trying to stop the Girush, the expulsion, the disengagement, evacuation, name it. And at night, in the evenings, we would go play on the team, the games. And at night, later on, we would go to the Kisufin Junction to protest and to take part in the protesting of the unbelievable situation we were in. The more I'm thinking about it and the more the years go by, I realize how insane of a situation we were part of. And obviously those who did it maybe fully thought in their heart that this will bring peace. We as kids who lived there, as teenagers who didn't know much about politics and about the big world. For us, the very, very pure truth was very clear to us. And it was very, very sad. It's very sad to feel that you're in a dream and this bubble that one day just burst. Gush Katif, even though it was difficult, very, very beautiful bubble.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Gush Katif Youth Basketball Tournament still takes place today, bringing together the youth of the different Gush Katif communities. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. Even though I think the last kids that are allowed to play are no longer, children who are born actually Gush Katif. The rules changed a bit, so every community that represents residents from Gush Katif originally can take place and bring their own kids, even though they're not from Gush Katif. The tournament actually just took place a few weeks ago, and tomorrow will be the semifinals and finals. Today we hold both youth tournaments for 12, like we had in Gush Katif, but also the adults, which is a very, very exciting day to meet meet everyone. And this year and last year we did it on 2 different Fridays. And it's a beautiful way to see people and friends that you don't get to see on a daily basis. I get to see my friends from the center, from the north, and it's just a very, very nice experience and bring back some memories. And so, it took place, and then tomorrow will be the semifinals and the finals for both the youth and the adults.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and I think it's very special that everyone know that it still takes place, because it is one of the central things that allows families from Gush Katif to still remain connected today. I'm going to jump a little bit with you, Yedidya, for a second. Are you able to share with us some of what you experienced on October 7th itself this past year on Simchat Torah?
Sure. Let me just give you one step back. I live in Shlomit. It's part of the Chalutza communities. It's one of the fruits that came out of the disengagement of Gush Katif. It was a very terrible event, a life-changing event for many of us, and probably as a countrywide, but also as Jews, we always try to find and make the lemonade out of the lemons. And we're ones who believe in Hashem, that everything that He does, and that Hashem does, even though we don't always understand and see it, He always does it. Hashem always does it for the best. And many communities, many new communities came out of disengagement. Many families who decided to continue the Gush Katif spirit. And part of it is the Chalutza communities, which is Naveh, Bnei Netzarim, and Shlomit. And as you mentioned, I live in the community of Shlomit, together with my family, with my 4 children. And we also experienced the rotten fruits of the disengagement by receiving rockets, the tunnels, the kites and balloons and the infiltrations, unfortunately, from Gaza. On October 7th was just another day, and the night before is one of the highlight days of the year for us, for young communities with many children, celebrate Simchat Torah. We all went to shul on Friday night, we danced with the Torahs, with the Hakafos. It's a beautiful night. After 2 hours, we put the Torahs back, and we went home to have Friday night and hot dinners, each at their homes. It's a beautiful time to be with the family. I must say it was an exceptional quiet day that day. But we went to sleep, only to wake up a couple hours later from crazy barrage of rockets, crazy explosions. And when we first moved to this area, I remember the feeling of being a father, being a parent, to children who suffer something that I suffered as a child, which is the explosions and the sounds of the guns that are shootings. And that morning, we jump out of our beds, October 7th, and run to my 2 girls' bedroom, pick them both up, we run to the shelter, safe room, where my 2 other kids were sleeping at the time, close the window and the door. We're all laying down on the floor, starting to hear the crazy explosions that are happening around us. The house shakes from explosion to explosion. At some point we heard things fall down after one explosion, so we realized that one of the rockets fell very close to the house. Turned out to be a rocket that had a direct hit one of the houses that is right next door to us. And then 25 minutes later, we hear some kind of a quiet come out of the shelter, and we hear indications, we get indications of different terrorists and are breaking down different towns, different kibbutzim in the area. And another 20 minutes go by, and the head of security of our community gets an alert on his call on his radio line. He comes from pre-gun. The head of security of pre-gun goes on the main security line of the head of securities in the Eshkol region. He seeks for help, said that the terrorists broke into their community and they don't have a way to protect themselves. And at that moment, our first response needed to take probably the biggest decision ever, huge dilemma, whether to stay and protect the community as all the other communities decided to do. But everybody had that call. Everybody decided, which is rightly so, to stay and protect their own families. They think the natural thing in life is to stay and protect their own families and community, which is also the mission for the first responding of Shulamit. Or go and help try to develop the community of Pre-Ghana. And here I always stop and I want to take everyone just a few days before. Let's call it the Jew over 6, or the Jew of October 6. Is a divided Jew. Is a Jew that questions himself, are these people in Nebra my brothers? These people in Tel Aviv are part of my nation? And the hatred, the baseless hatred that took place in Israel, the division, the sinat chinam on the streets was very, very bad. And when friends would ask him from the States, overseas, should we come visit Israel during that time? He would say, don't come. It's not a good time to come. But on that day, October 7th, when that call came from Pre-Ghana, these are people that we don't know who they are, most of them. They hold the opposite religious lifestyle as us, the opposite political views as us. When they call for help, nothing of that mattered. One thing mattered. A brother is in danger, a sister is in danger, another Jew is in danger. You don't think twice. And our first responding makes the decision to go and fight in Pre-Ghana and protect, try to help the brothers and sisters in Pre-Ghana on a 2-hour battle took place. Very heroic battle, and the first responding fights was able to defeat and chase away the terrorists who are well equipped, much more equipped than the first responding was, with anti-tank missiles, side bombs, with finger grenades, with thousands of bullets, with special bombs to open their shelters, with medical kits to take care of themselves so they can stay for a while and continue the massacre, the kidnapping. Their plan was just like they did in Be'erim for Alman, to find Cholim, Nachalos, Heroes, but they didn't mention to succeed. They didn't succeed with their plan, and they ran away after 2 hours. And by that act of heroism, the entire community of Pre-Ghana was saved. Not even one single person was either killed or wounded. It's a very rare fact. It's the only community on October 7th. Terrorists broke into physically and not even one person was killed or wounded from that community. But unfortunately, our community paid a very, very heavy, high price. 4 of my close friends were killed on that day. 41-year-old Avi Abelow, father of 6 children, left behind Dana as a widow. 37-year-old Reuven Shishpokish is married to Sophia and had a son. 32-year-old Michal Swede, married to Nehoa, left behind 3 beautiful girls. And the 30-year-old Avi Abelow was married to Hanan and had 2 kids. All 4 fell in the battles of the October 7th events. And 4 others were injured, 2 of them very critically, to a point we didn't think we'll make it. The guys from 669, the rescue units, I thought it would be a waste of space with the helicopter, but the paramedic on the ground pushed them to the helicopter and insisted that they will get evacuated, and thank God their lives were saved. And 2 others that were injured medium, their legs. The following day, we had to evacuate our homes. They're continuing to protect the community within. And we were evacuated for 5.5 months. 1 month to Kfar Gush Etzion. The following 4.5 months to our Ramin Hotel. We came back this past March.
I was blessed to have served as an IDF soldier in Gaza back in 1993, 94, 95, on the beach, Rafiach Yam, I think, or Shirat Yam, Metkalim, Netzarim, different places. You were a youth back then, and there was a low level of terror back before 2005, nothing to the extent afterwards and today. But are you, or anyone else that you know, family, friends that grew up in Gush Katif, lived in Gush Katif those years, surprised by what happened on Simchat Torah October 7th?
Unfortunately, I think even us, kids, youth, the adults who live in Gush Katif, even us, we thought that when you run away from terror, the terror will chase you down. Even us were surprised and unaware of how big of an attack could happen. I think it took us all by surprise. What they did was, I mean, in theory, anything can happen. In theory, the billion haters that we have around us and just spit on us and we drown. In theory, the over 250,000 rockets and missiles can be launched at a given moment. It's all in theory, but in real life, for something like that to happen, it was 3,000 Hamas Nazi terrorists who have only one thing in their eyes, it's the sin of blood of Jews and the strong will of killing. That was something that really exceeded anyone's nightmares. But when later on I was thinking about it, and when I was fighting in Gaza as a reservist, in the months of the winter, and then until almost until got us to bed and returned to our homes in Shlomit, I realized how such a thing can happen. We left Gaza, and in the eyes of, I guess, the leaders, the government, that during those days was a way to give them a chance to rebuild, to give them a chance to have a peace. In their eyes, in the 4 or 5, 6-year-old child, or even the non-born child, was the Jews were pushed away by Hamas, by the heroes of Hamas. The terrorists succeeded in their mission, and now we are growing up, learning. We never met a Jew before, we only see them on videos that we get from Hamas. And one day we'll be old enough to continue mission of taking and killing all the Jews so we can get to Jerusalem, to Al-Aqsa. This is what's going on in their eyes. And only when I was there and I started thinking about it, I realized how such a thing can happen, such extent. It's not like I thought they loved us, they hated us to death, they wanted to kill us all the time. But
after October 7th, I don't know exactly when, but I know you were called up to Miluim, to reserves, and you took part in actually fighting in Gaza. Are you able to share with us any of the thoughts that were racing through your head as someone that grew up as a child, as a youth, as a teenager, all of a sudden to be back there fighting to defend the Am Yisrael, the Jewish people in the land of Israel?
Sure. I remember the first time I crossed the fence into Gaza. It was Friday, and we went through Ashkelon. back in the beginning, and I remember we were fighting in the maps. I saw that we're actually on the community, that it's one of the 3 communities that were stationed, were located in the northern part, of the Gaza Strip part. I was the latest in the Lugit. It was a Hamas training base that we went on. And I remember feeling actually that place that once was my childhood, and it was a very, very, very special feeling. But still, not the feeling that I would have and think that a little more Tzarim was already a place.
Yedidya, forgive me for interrupting you. We lost you for a second. Can you answer the question again? Because we weren't able to hear.
Okay, sure. Let me just try. Is the internet okay now?
Now we hear you, and please God, it will continue to be good.
Okay. So as things, so when I went into, I'll start again my answer. So as we went in the first time, I was through LA Sinai through Ashkelon. The feelings were very, very special. Once be back in the place where I grew up. But LA Sinai is connected to Gate, on the northern part of Gaza, because we weren't as connected to as the others. Because they were closer, we put it into Ashkelon, we couldn't drive through Gush Katif to see them because of the Oslo agreements. We would have to drive around, so our connection was a little bit weaker with them. It was still a special feeling. But the second time I went into the Tzarim community. Walking around was already something that was more familiar for me, starting to feel, even more so. And the last time we went into Khan Yunis was already a different story because we could already see the Kalim and Eitan and where Katif was once, and even the shul in Gadid. And that was already something that, I felt it in my heart very, very strongly. Obviously, it's not the same. It's not the same feeling as being back to a place where it has houses and sidewalks. And during the movie, Inat was saying a sentence that was very powerful. That she had that same sidewalk. She walked every day from childhood to growing up. And as she's talking, I'm picturing in my head the sidewalks that I went. I was walking to friends and to kindergartens and to school and as a youth. And it's hard to leave everything behind. It's hard. It's hard to be back in Gush Katif. And as we were writing, he was also a child in Gush Katif. And I remember turning around and saying, I'm fighting here, and I have to be back. After we said, what did we say? We told you it will happen. We told you we will go back to terrorism and get even stronger and do even worse things. But, we're one nation. We have one destiny, and we have to have mutual commitment and to cover up for our brothers' mistakes, even when they occur. And never return to our brothers and sisters kibbutzim and say, we told you when we were protesting on Junction outside Gush Katif every Friday, come back home, brothers, and the Gush Katif people are the barrier for peace. We're not going to say we told you, the friends from the area in Nahal Oz, Oz. This is not who we are. We are. We have to live with the mistakes, the historical mistakes that we do, that we did as a nation. Tisha B'Av is historical mistakes that our brothers and sisters did throughout the history, starting in the desert, throughout the first temple, the second temple. So have you prayed for souls in complete redemption?
Amen. And it actually reminds me, I don't know how many people who watched the movie picked up on this, but there was a scene where the boys are arguing about throwing tomatoes. And there is an older guy who I happen to know is a very experienced IDF commander who would fly around the world, very, very experienced and high-ranking. And he said, no, they're your brothers, they're your brothers. And then he says a line there that I don't know how many people pick up, and I haven't even picked up on it that often, and it's my movie. He said, in 20 years' time, you're going to be neighbors with those soldiers here in Gush Katif. Did you hear? I don't know if you heard that line, Yedidya, but it's just apropos. You're talking about being back fighting in Gush Katif in Gaza. Two of my sons were fighting in Gaza in all the different areas. 20 years, it's not that off, or 19 years. We have a few minutes left for a number of questions from the audience, and we actually have some people online that have sent some in the meantime. So if anyone here wants to think and ask one or two questions here. One question is this. Someone asked online, who are you in the movie Yedidya? And I'm going to point out Yedidya was not one of the stars interviewed, but he told me that he was in the movie. Can you point yourself out in the movie where you were Yedidya?
I'm actually at the end of the movie, where everybody is kind of dancing. I was, as I said, I was a sophomore, the year 2005. I did win the three-point contest of that year during the tournament. My team unfortunately didn't make it to the semifinals, but years later, continued playing and achieving success. And yeah, that evening was very powerful. Everybody dancing together. I think it was like the highlight. And it's even when as just a side note, is when Brody watched together with all of Israel on TV that tournament and decided to give me and two friends a scholarship to come to America for 2 years for to play for New Jersey.
So another question that we received online, did you ever have second thoughts about returning to serve in the IDF after what you and your family and all the other Gush Katif Gaza families experienced from being removed from your homes back in 2005?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. I still keep, I will go get a piece of paper from my Yedidya Harush, an interview that was taken about me and 3 other people, where I say that it's hard for me to give a ride for a soldier. He's a lieutenant colonel.
Yedidya, forgive me. The internet went again for a second. If you could just start talking about the article on Yedidya Harush.
Okay, so there was an article in Yedidya Harush that interviewed me and 3 other friends that were youth right after this event. And I remember saying to the lady who interviewed us that it's even harder for me to give a ride to a soldier when they try. And I don't know how I'm going to serve in the army. It was very hard for me. But then, as I mentioned, I went to America for 2 years, and the second Lebanon war happened, and I lost a friend who was in Gush Katif, who went to fight in Lebanon. And that following year, on the Memorial Day, they asked me in school in New Jersey to basically organize the Memorial Day ceremony in the school. And I printed a lot of pictures of friends and family that I lost throughout the years, and different soldiers. And I remember how everybody was connected and crying, but came up to me afterwards and said, to talk and hear is about the different soldiers and the terms of that, victims. And then it hit me that moment that being in the army, going to serve, actually represents and defends not just Jews who live in Israel, but 15 million Jews who live in Europe. And it's my obligation to not take the scholarship that I was offered for college and go back and join the army. And it was like a switch in my head that I made, and when we went back and joined the paratroopers unit, and a very meaningful service, and the rest is history.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So not an easy topic or thought process, especially for someone who experienced what you experienced. And another question we got online: do you dream to one day return and live in Gush Katif?
It's also a great question. I get it sometimes from people. So after people had to make a decision. The decision was to turn the page, move on, take what happened with me, and turn it into positivity, like happens to people when they go through different tragedies with their families, losing loved ones, etc. Or to stay depressed and negative, or just stay in the past, as some people did. It's a way we choose to deal with our tragedies in life. I think everyone will suffer the loss in their family, can probably, understand what I'm saying. And I, at some point, decided that I'm moving on, and I'm focusing now and taking all the energy that I had in losing my home, losing my childhood, losing friends, everything that I went through, and taking it and turning it into positivity, to create. Taking the opportunity that we had of building new communities here. We started with 15 families. I live 450 yards from the Egyptian border and 3 miles from Gaza. And we took a place that no one ever thought anything can grow on, anything can be, and anyone can live here and turn it into an oasis that is responsible for growing over 82 different species of fruits and vegetables. 400 families who live in 3 beautiful communities. For me, this is the continuation of Gush Katif. This is the continuation of the spirit created Gush Katif. You see, Gush Katif, it's a physical place, but it's also an idea of building, of growing, of continuing, of never stopping, and nothing matters, nothing else that will come in our way will not stop us. And there are many, many challenges in building a new community on these 2 beautiful borders. And in the desert that gets 3 inches annual rain. As Yedidya, I don't think about it as daily that I'm returning or going back. I'm sure there are many people that put this in one of their missions. I'm focusing on the reality, and the reality is that we are, for now, fighting in Gaza, but we have a beautiful community that will still need to develop. Still 60% of the land in Israel is the Negev, which is very much unbuilt and developed at the moment. And we still have a lot of work to do. And that's what I focus on every day. Take the spirit and everything I grew up on in Gush Katif, these beautiful values, and transforming it into building, into bringing more families to the Gaza envelope, into bringing more facilities and more children laughing. And one main thing that we'll never give up and continue to live here, despite everything that they try to do.
Do you have any final thoughts to share with everyone watching, Jews, non-Jews in Israel, all around the world?
Sure. Two final thoughts is A, we have to be united. Now we are in Tisha B'Av, it's probably the day that symbolizes why we're crying, that what we experienced of not being united, what can happen. We had a very strong reminder a little over 9 months ago. We have to be united. We have to be united first first starts with the family. You know, add more love to our spouses, to our children, to our siblings, to our parents. Just each one of us needs to add a little more love, more unity. And then goes out to our neighbors, to our friends, and then goes out to people we don't know, and then goes out to people we'll never know. You know, people, what we say, the unseen people. It could be the guard, the entrance to the mall. It could be someone who has a simple job, or somebody that walks by the street that you see. Just add more, be more friendly, be more positive, be more united with your brothers and sisters, because that's the only secret to our victory. You know, we hear the threat of Iran. Believe me, if we're united, they can talk as much as they want. We'll be able to overcome and beat any enemy. We just need to be united. We happen to be our best enemy. Second thought that I want to share is that we, on the border with Egypt and Gaza, the Gaza envelope went through very difficult times. And with everybody's help and everybody's support, we've been able to overcome the situation and slowly recovering and growing and bringing more families and more life to the area. And as a soldier servicing the IDF, just last week I was in the part, God knows how long it will be until I'm told up again. It's going to happen very soon. The support from the people, to the IDF, to the soldiers at the front line gives us a lot of strength to continue fighting and to continue our mission. So let's all together pray, continue the prayers for the success of the work of the IDF.
Amen.
And continue for praying for the return of the hostages and the recovery of the wounded. And with unity, love, and support, we can overcome this. And I'll give you a spoiler: we're going to win this war.
Yedidya, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts, your memories, and some of your deepermost deliberations of some of these issues. So thank you very, very much, Yedidya. Chazak be'emet. And now I want to end by talking about a scene in the movie that Yedidya was in, because at the end of screenings of Home Game, when I speak around the world, I usually ask the audience what are the scenes in the movie that touched them the most, that inspired them the most. And I'll just answer what usually everybody answers, and that is the scene at the end of all the teams, all the players, all the fans, all singing and dancing together on the court. Again, remember this. First of all, there was a basketball game that one side lost and one side won. And two, they knew that they were about to be removed from their homes, whether that night, the next day, etc. And you saw that level of unity, love, and Jewish spirit that exists within the Jewish people, even in one of the traumatic moments that those youth were actually experiencing with their families. And this program was all about heroism, focusing on the heroes, our youth, and focusing on the youth of Gush Katif that experienced what they experienced back then, and then having Yedidya share with us today by being one of those youth, today as a young adult, sharing that just as they were heroes in dealing with what they dealt with back then, they are some of the heroes of the Jewish people standing on the front line, not just for Israel and the Jewish people, but for the whole freedom-loving world against the evil we're up against. And that is the inspiration I want everyone to take from watching Home Game, being inspired about who we are and what we have as a people and our youth and the values and our homeland, and thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God above, for everything we have, even with everything that we're experiencing. So with that, thanks to everybody for being here, everyone for watching all over the world. Am Yisrael Chai. We're going to get through it, everybody.